The cost of living is ridiculous. So, my lease is about to end, and, I'm apartment hunting, just looking around. And I haven't been apartment hunting in so long because I've been in my current place for about 2 years. And now that I'm looking, I'm like, oh, this is what they're talking about. I'm looking at 1 bedrooms for $2,100. 2 bedrooms for $2,300. I would never pay that for an apartment. I will never. And I know a lot of people keep saying, just get a house, get a house. It's not that simple, buddy. When you have a house, your base mortgage could be $1,600. But all the other stuff you have to pay on top of that means you're paying a lot more than that. I know people paying $2,600 for a mortgage, $2,700 for a mortgage. No, I'm not doing that right now. And then you have property taxes, HOA fees, all that stuff that adds up. Owning a house is not cheap. It's very expensive, and you need to be financially well off to own a house. And most people are not financially well off, but they have houses and end up house poor. I don't want to be that person. Baby steps. Now, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way I'm paying that much for an apartment. But at this point, I have no choice. So I'm apartment hunting right now, and I'm trying so hard not to get angry about the whole thing. We might already be past that. But there are so many apartments out there that want to charge $1,700, $1,800 plus dollars for less than 600 square feet. It's a shoebox. It's so sad. What is happening? This is the system we've set up after all the years humanity has existed. This is where we're at. This is how it's going. In today's video, we're going to talk about rent, how a lot of people are struggling to even move out of their parents' house, or they have to relocate because rent is too damn expensive, or how it's just making the cost of living unbearable for a lot of people. For a reference point, my rent this year went up 6%. Apparently, they do this once every 10 years. I think it's like a tax reassessment. Anyways, it sucks. A lot of people are staying at home longer than ever now. Personally, for me, I moved out of my parents' house at 31 years old. You're told when you're younger to move out at 18. But a lot of people are stuck living at home into their 20s and 30s because they cannot afford to move out. And rent is a big hurdle that stands in their way. When you have 1-bedroom apartments that are over $2,000 per month, or 2 bedrooms that are around $2,500 per month or more, you really start asking yourself, how much money do I actually need to move out? Well, in today's video, we're going to go over exactly how people feel about today's rent in 2026. Let's get into it. Well, she hasn't said anything yet, but anyways, 40 years old, 2 children, moving back in with her mom. That's brutal. I mean, she's lucky to have a mom that would even do that. And that's a pretty crowded household, A lot of our parents bought homes back in the day for a lot less money than it costs today. And for her, I'm assuming she's a single mom, that's tough. That really is tough. I called my mom today and told her I'm moving back in. And I'm 40 years old, and I have children. When I say that it's hard, you've got rent, you've got your car note, you've got car insurance, internet, health insurance if you have it. It's a lot. If you have a condo, you've got an HOA fee. If you watch TV, cable is so expensive. I don't even have cable. I just have Netflix, Hulu, and a few others. I use Tubi for free. If you have Amazon Prime, you get Amazon Prime TV. Cable is a huge scam. They raise your prices every year for no reason. Yeah, that's a good way to save money if you're looking to cut costs somewhere. You have your cell phone bill too. Last month I spent over $1,500 on groceries. Yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable for 2 kids, you know. That's a lot of money. Well, that works out to a little shy of $400 a week. Yeah, that sounds about right. In today's economy, that's a pretty large amount just for groceries. I mean, I spend $300 on just myself very easily. And that was just in 1 week, not even a full grocery run. So yeah, that's definitely not unheard of. I don't know. I don't know how you guys are making it, but I'm ready to move back in with my mom and help her pay her rent. Landlords, you're not checking our credit score anymore. You're checking our blood pressure. You want 3 times the monthly income to rent some of these places. Yeah, that's insane. My place was like that too. They make you do everything under the sun. You know, credit check, obviously. Your tenant history, but also meeting that income threshold. And wow, the average rental was $3,000, so I'm lucky. Maybe that's for a luxury apartment, or that's just the rate everywhere else. For me, mine is just over $2,300 for a 2-bedroom. But this is a very old apartment. No central air, no in-unit laundry, no parking spot. So there's really no amenities, nothing. It's bare bones. It's just a regular apartment, you know, a roof over your head, electricity, and water. That's it. And heat. But yeah, $3,000 a month. If you do the math on that, times 12 is $36,000 a year. Times 3 for the income requirement, that's about $108,000 a year in salary. Do most people make that? No. And they say you shouldn't spend more than 1/3 of your gross income on rent. Come on now. How many people nowadays are making over 6 figures? Not many. And even 6 figures today is worth a lot less than it used to be. So that's not saying much either. Average rent in America just hit $3,000. That means you need $9,000 a month in income to qualify. The average American is not making that kind of money. This is crazy, dude. My car is not starting. It's not even my car, it's my mom's car I've been using because I can't afford to save up for my own car since rent is so high and the bills are so high. Yeah, it's not uncommon in California to have a bunch of roommates too. Personally, I can never do that. I just watched some show on Netflix. It was called something like Worst Roommate or something along those lines. After seeing that, I would be very skeptical about having any roommate. Yeah, I just can't do it. Friends are one thing, but still, very few people have your exact view of how you should live in an apartment. Some are messy, some go out and party a lot. They're always having people over, you know? You've really got to vet your roommates well, and even then, it's just better to have your own place. But again, you know, rent is so expensive. This apartment is $2,325 a month. Pretty expensive. You've got to have a lot of income just to be able to apply for the kind of apartment I have, you know? My other car got repossessed because I couldn't afford the payments anymore on top of my rent and all the other bills, so I let it go. I don't pay for AAA anymore because that bill is also too high to add on to everything. You try to make cuts everywhere you can. So now I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do about my battery. What's wrong with my car to begin with? And being a single mom too, yeah, it's tough. When you have a kid and you have no spouse to contribute to the income, that's an uphill battle. Just one person on their own trying to make ends meet is already hard enough. And when you have someone else that's dependent on you, it just adds to that stress, and you can see it in these people's reactions. I have no money left. I already paid the rent. I already paid everything else. This is reality. This is America. As a single mom, I still have to make it to work, because how else am I going to do anything if I can't make it to work? Average rent in Ohio right now is over $1,000 a month, according to Apartment List. And that's only climbing as housing costs face the same pressure that everything else is under. Iran war tariffs and inflation risks are adding pressure on interest rates and the cost of building and renting. And MAGA Republicans have backed the policies driving that pressure instead of working to ease it. What are you paying for rent in Columbus right now? Because for a lot of us, it's a lot higher. Why is rent so expensive? I remember like 9 years ago we lived in. A lot of people move into luxury apartments, and I know it's nice to have security, a gym, a lounge, and a pool. But if you're not going to use those amenities, you're wasting your money. Like I said earlier in this video, rent is already super expensive. If your priority is just to build independence and move out of your parents' house, just find any place that's in a relatively safe area. Don't try to seek out the best, newly renovated place just because you want all the amenities. You know, you've got to really ask yourself, how much can you afford, and then go from there. My hot take is paying more than $700 a month to rent a room should be criminal. I live in Las Vegas, and I pay $850 a month for a room with a shared bathroom. Yeah, again, I just can't do that. Sharing with another family, having roommates, I'd rather just stay at home and keep saving up money to try to move out on my own. I can't do that. Today's generation, today's society, it's just not like it used to be. You can't trust anyone. You've got to really look out for yourself. And when you're living under a roof with people that you don't know, to me, that's not a trade-off I'd be happy to take. It's a nice area, nice little house, but personally, I think that's too much money. But that's kind of the average going rate here and elsewhere. But personally, I think anything more than $700, maybe $750, you could convince me. If it's a nice house in a nice area, you know, with a lot of things nearby, maybe. But even in expensive cities like LA or Washington, D.C., I personally think you shouldn't be able to charge more than $700 or $750 for a room. It's just criminal in my opinion. Yeah, especially for just a room, and I'm assuming a shared bathroom. You know, upwards of $1,000 is just too much. So, I'm in the middle of selling my house now and looking for apartments in and around the DMV area. And I'm not going to lie, I was not prepared for the sticker shock of how much these apartments are going for these days, man. Like, Jesus Christ. For context, we bought that house in 2021. We've been there for 5 going on 6 years now. And as a result, I was insulated from the inflation everybody else has been going through because my cost of living has been fairly static the last 5 years. Now I'm seeing apartments, total shoeboxes, in the DMV area, not even DC. I'm just talking about the surrounding areas. And even in Baltimore, my apartment is very small. But would I want to go back to living at home with my parents? No, that's just me. I would take the smallest apartment if it meant having my independence instead of living under someone else's roof. You know, that's just me. Now, I love my parents. I'm not saying this out of disrespect to them. I'm saying I don't care about having the nicest apartment. Clearly not. I mean, this apartment is so old. We don't have central air here, no parking spot, no in-house laundry, no gym, nothing. Everything is old. Everything breaks down. I have a screwdriver right next to me because I'm always trying to fix things in the apartment. The faucet in the bathroom clogs all the time. The toilet just stops working sometimes. I've seen it all, you know, but I'm still just happy that I have my own place. So that's just me, though. I mean, what do you think? Are you okay with just having a basic apartment if it means you can have your freedom and independence? Or would you rather have all the amenities and such? Drop your comment down below and let me know. It's even more than that. They want that much for barely 700 square feet. Now, thankfully, yeah, mine's not even 700 square feet. For a 2-bedroom apartment, this is less than 700 square feet. It's actually less than 650 square feet. Yeah, it's a pretty small apartment. I can afford it. I'm not going to like it, but I can make it work if I need to. But I just found myself thinking, damn, if this is what everybody else is going through, it's no wonder everybody's struggling right now. Like we are Yeah, I've seen 1-bedroom apartments that have 1,000 square feet. Mine's not even 700 square feet for a 2-bedroom. So I get it. People are really being squeezed on both ends. All these landlords and apartment communities are weaponizing the fact that the barrier for entry into home ownership is so high and impossible right now for most people, and are squeezing every dollar they can out of people's pockets. And it's crazy because it was not always this way. I'm not even talking about back in the 2000s. I'm talking about as recently as 2020. Before we bought this house, we were living in an apartment in Largo. We paid $1,500 for a luxury 800 square foot apartment. That same apartment right now goes for $2,100, if not $2,200, right? Yeah, the pandemic raised prices for everything, especially apartments and houses. I mean, you've got to take your pick. You buy an expensive house or you rent an expensive apartment. Yeah, the pandemic definitely effed things up for sure. And that's before parking, before utilities and everything else. This isn't fair, bro. And it's like, how the heck are young people supposed to get ahead? Young people just starting their careers. Young people trying to get out of their mom's house. Young people trying to start a family. How the heck are they supposed to get ahead if they're not even being given a chance to grow financially or to save? How is that possible? I just got home and I got a letter from my apartment building, basically telling me that I'm getting kicked out of this apartment. Well, not really, but that's what it feels like. Because tell me how they're raising their prices so much. Like so much. And it's just annoying, you know? It's really freaking annoying because I don't want to move every year. I mean, mine went up almost 6%, so I thought that was illegal. But apparently they can do it once in a while. But when you move, you usually get like 2 months free or stuff like that. So if I re-sign this lease, I don't get that. But anyway, I didn't get that either. I think that's more of a luxury apartment thing. I never got a free month or two. That's another story. What I'm scared about is, when are these rent prices going to stop increasing? I'm 25. I never even thought I'd be grateful to be paying the amount of rent I'm paying right now for this apartment. I'm very freaking lucky to be able to afford this. And it's not that I'm scared of how I'm going to afford the next apartment or not, but I have to move. I can't stay here. I can't accept the price they're increasing to next year because it's insane. You get me? I live in this neighborhood in Miami called Merrick Park. And granted, it's my favorite place in the whole entire world. Like, it's been called the new Beverly Hills of the United States, right? And I don't know. I get it now why it's called that, because what the heck? It's a luxury apartment. I pay more for this apartment that's not even in a big downtown area like Brickell or whatever. Brickell is insanely expensive. I'm paying more than places downtown. More than Brickell and downtown. You know what I'm saying? Usually, when you're living right there in Brickell on the 40th floor, you'd think you'd pay more than me? No, we're paying the same thing. Or I'm paying more, which is freaking crazy. You're going to have to branch out. Don't live right in the city. Depending on where you work, you might have to have a longer commute, you know? Don't move into a luxury apartment. Most people should not be in luxury apartments. I hate to say it, but it's true. Just like they shouldn't have luxury cars, you shouldn't have a luxury apartment unless you've earned it. Rent's already too expensive. Get your own place first. If you're struggling like she is with money and you have no money to invest or pay down debt, you've got to get rid of the luxury apartment. You cannot afford it. I don't even seek them out because I know it would just burn a big hole in my wallet. And I want to keep investing and save for my retirement. So that's just the way I look at it. What? Almost $7,000 per month? I would never want to live there. That's why you're seeing so many homeless people, man. I mean, listen, it'd be kind of cool to rent for like a week if they allowed it. I would never live in Manhattan like that. That's just wasting money. Unless you're a celebrity or ultra rich, it's a waste of money. New Yorkers who rent are so fed up with the rental market, and I don't blame them as a real estate agent in New York City. Put it into perspective. In 2024, a one-bedroom averaged at $4,000. Today, in 2026, a studio averages at $4,000. And a studio is nothing in a city. Prices have doubled in the last 2 years. The vacancy rate is 1.49% in these buildings, meaning these buildings are almost completely full. That's just a box, a studio in Manhattan. So not only are prices insane, the inventory is as low as it can be. Your choices are limited, and you have hundreds of thousands of people fighting for the same apartment in the most competitive city in the whole country. Yeah, I do see a bunch of YouTubers online doing that nomad lifestyle where they just drive around and live in their vehicles. I mean, at this point, I don't blame them. I'm not even going to lie. Rent is so high, I'm about to go pick up a shift at the leasing office. I'm about to cover their Saturdays because rent is about to blow us out of the country. I heard that you get discounts when you work at the leasing office. If you ask me, a part-time job as a leasing agent doesn't sound too bad. As you can tell, a lot of people are struggling. Rent is very high, especially if you live in a city. But again, there are ways to save money. You know, don't go for a luxurious apartment. Try to find one that's in a safe area. If it has working lights and everything you need, just the essentials, it's fine. You know, at the end of the day, you're looking for a place to lay your head at night that feels safe. Everything else, the gyms, the pools, the lounges, that should be extra if you're really doing well and making a ton of money. Aside from that, you should really research the area and see where your salary can get you the best apartment for you. Anyways, so I'm just curious, what has your experience been with renting? Is your rent also very high like these other people's and mine? Drop your comments down below and let me know. If you enjoy this kind of content, please leave a like. That being said, enjoy the rest of your day.